This is the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we share tips, tools, and tricks on how you can get out of the weeds when you find yourself riding in the thick of them. We share tools from the experience of Natasha Lockey, a performance mountain bike and life coach, and Ginny Brandon, who is an animal communicator and business owner. Come join us as we navigate the weeds of life. Today, on this episode of Riding in the Weeds, we are going to dig into the topic of support. What it is, why we need it, and all the ways that we get support in our lives, where we can lean in, where we maybe need to lean out, and how we can find people along the way that are here to support us, and also, more importantly, how we can support others. Because let's be honest, we are all human. And so often what you're going through is not unique to you. And it's almost sometimes selfish to not share it with others. So let's dig in and talk about how we can do this effectively, consciously, and without really dumping on all of our friends. Hey, Ginny, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Tosh. How are you?
I'm doing good. We just decided it might be a little early for me, but that's okay.
We got this.
We got this. And actually, it's a good little story to start on. We're doing this it's really not that early, but a little earlier. Normally, I'd be walking my dog at this time, but I have a friend and she needs my help doing a surfing lesson later on this morning. So Ginny and I were like, right, let's get this done early so I can go and support my friend in the way that she needs it. When you're giving help to other people, like I've changed my entire day so that I can help this person out, which I get to choose to do, right? And I think consciously supporting others is really, really important. Let's start off with that topic. How do we consciously support others, and how do we consciously not people please and put ourselves out trying to do too much for other people and then leaving ourselves depleted? What are your thoughts on this, Jenny?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start because people pleasing is very normal in our culture. And so often, I think, especially as women, there's this assumption that we're just going to give and give and give. And if you aren't filling your own cup and taking care of yourself, then you can't support others, let alone yourself. So it's that tricky fine line between making sure that you are giving from a place when you have something to give. And it is perfectly acceptable to set a boundary and say, I am not available for this, fill in the blank, at this time. I can't support you in this way at this time. I think we need to all practice that a little bit more, being realistic with ourselves first about what we have available to offer someone. And it's also perfectly okay to say, I can't support you in this way, but this is how I can offer my help. Is that useful to you at all? And if they say no, then that's fine. It's just not a good match in the moment. It doesn't mean anything about the worth or value of you or the other person at all. So whether you can or can't support doesn't mean anything about you worthiness-wise. Sometimes we get tangled up and think that if we can't help someone that we're not a good person. And that's absolutely not true.
I love that. It's a great point because our ability to help or not help somebody is not any relevance to our worth at all. I have a coach that I love it when she says this and reminds me of it. But the idea is that for me, for you, for us. And the concept being that anything you do has to be beneficial to you to start with. And then beneficial to the other person. And we'll dig into that in a minute as well. And then at the end of the day, if it's beneficial for both, then there's an us. If it's not beneficial for both people, then there is no us, right? If what you're doing doesn't support the other person, that's not a match, as you just said. And if what you're doing doesn't support you, well, we really do need to fill our own cup first. I used to have situations where I would be asked to do things by a friend. And this one specific friend one time was like, why will you never commit to anything? And I said to her, well, because once I've committed, I'm showing up. And I don't ever want to be the person that says yes to everything and then actually turns up to nothing. And I know myself. And I also know that my husband comes first in everything. So if you ask me what I'm doing next weekend and do I want to do X, Y, Z, let me check with Ian and I will get back to you. I would love to join you. I just need to see if that's going to fit in with other plans that we've got going on. Because I don't want to go, yeah, let's do that. And then call them and be like, oh, actually, I can't because I've got this, that, and the other thing going on. I was very clear. I was like, my husband is my first priority. And that's the us that I look after first. And then I also need to look at what does the rest of my week look like? Am I going to have the energy to do that? Because I also know myself, and there's a lot of times when I just don't want to do things. Am I going to be in a mental space where that's actually going to be enjoyable for me and I want to follow through with it? So really stepping into that space of being honest. And it really bugged her because she wasn't putting her family first. And I remember a little while later, she came up to me and she had had a few experiences where this person just kept saying yes and then kept ditching her. And then her husband would be there being like, well, I'll do it with you. And Ian would do that. I would make plans and then I'd get ditched and he'll be like, you know what? I totally get you want to go for a bike ride before work. Let me get out of bed where I'm having a nap and I'm really tired and I'm really sore, but I'm going to come with you because I want to support you because you've been let down. And it was in those moments when I knew that I was choosing the right person to be in that space with me. And this girl came to me one day, she's like, I get it. I really now get it. And I've started realizing that if I put my hubby first, then I've always got a best friend. And I've always got somebody who's there and he's consistent and he's not going to let me down. And then I can pick. I don't have to be constantly looking for other people to fill a space that's actually already filled. It's a good example of how do we fill our own cup? How do we then pour into others so that there's this mutual benefit and this mutual feeling of support as opposed to one or the other person feeling abused or drained or whatever can come up.
I think one of the important things that kind of plays into this situation a little bit is the idea that our partner or our spouse should be everything for us. And I call bull on that because no one person can give you all the support that you need in your life. It isn't humanly possible. Number one, you need to be supporting yourself first. And then number two, your spouse is there to be a partner, but they can't be expected to be your counselor, your therapist, your coach, your trainer, your nutritionist. That isn't fair to your partner. And so making sure that when you're in relationship with someone, that the support you're seeking from them is appropriate. Like, that's kind of the first step. If you're asking the wrong person for support, like your spouse and your friends should not be your therapist. Like, there are professional people that have professional degrees for that reason. And if you are continually going to friends or your partner and dumping things on them, that's not fair to them either. And frankly, they should be telling you they're unavailable for it at that point, but that's a whole different conversation. But being conscious of what you are asking of someone, particularly when it is not a transactional professional relationship, i.e. a counselor or a coach or someone that you have specifically hired to help with a problem, being conscious of what you are asking of that person. Is it even realistic for them to be able to do that? You had to check with your husband first because that's your primary relationship. It's reasonable to expect that you need to make sure that the household doesn't have anything going on before you make a commitment to your friend. And that you have the energy to support doing the activity that this person is suggesting. That's not an unreasonable ask of anybody. and making sure that you're going to be able to be physically present, as in you don't have any conflicts, and then energetically present. That should be the process of every kind of interaction. Am I truly available for this to support this relationship together? If so, great, let's go. But also knowing that sometimes things change and that you might get to Saturday and discover that your emotional meter is spent. Your fuel tank is on E and you don't have the energy to offer that person. I think if anybody takes the time to examine their friend relationships, that you can identify the friends that are energy giving. The relationships that you have that are mutually fulfilling often make you feel better for being with them. And then you have some relationships that sometimes aren't that fulfilling. And so you've got to be able to know, do you actually have enough in your tank to support that person? Because they're going to be taking energy from you rather than giving it back. And it's fine to have those relationships. There's nothing wrong with that. But making sure that you're available for that is the first step to not ending up burned out yourself on everything. That's not even just a limited to business kind of thing. You can be burned out on all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and I think this is a really good segue into, friendships. We have different people in our lives. We have some friends that take a little more, and we have some friends that give a little more. You know the friend that you're not going to go to for support over certain things. I think I was telling you, Ginny, about a work colleague, and I turned up to work one day and I just had a horrible argument with my husband, and we were talking. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit sad. I just had a huge blowout with Ian before I came to work. And she turned around and she's like, oh, I have such a perfect boyfriend. And then gave some example of how amazing he was. And I just remember looking at her and being like, note to self. She wasn't like a close friend or anything, but I was just like, wow, that was your response to, like, I think the appropriate response that I was expecting was, oh, I'm sorry. That sucks.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't telling her because I wanted to have any conversation or needed support from her. I was really just explaining why I wasn't in a very happy, energetic mood. It was more like, oh, I'm feeling a little down right at this moment. I'll be back. But this is why. And that's what I got. And it was so funny because I was like, oh, right. Okay. Moving right along. And I think, just as I say, having those understandings. And then when the boundaries get crossed, you're allowed to say something. And I think it's important to navigate our relationships. If somebody is constantly dumping on you, we've got it in our notes here. Do you want a trash can or a toolbox? And if you've got somebody that just always wants the trash can and they're stuck in their stories and they just want to tell you the same things that are going wrong all of the time, there is a point at which you can make the decision that you don't want to spend that much time with that person, or you're not available for that support. And we have toxic friendships and we have non-toxic friendships. And I think as we go through life, understanding we are the sum of the 5 people that we hang out with. And let's get into parenting ourselves. What kind of friend are you? Are you constantly looking for support from everybody and asking everybody to hold space for you, but then not actually giving any to other people? And checking ourselves at the door. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. What are you doing here? What is your intention of this interaction? And noticing how you interact with people when you're in a good space, when you're in a bad space. Are you the person that's like, oh yeah, I have a really bad relationship. Let's dig into how our guys are sucky. Or whether you're the person that's like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can help you with? Because I understand how sometimes relationships can be really hard. Or are you the person that's like, oh, I don't have those problems. In any situation in life, with our relationship with ourselves, with weight loss, with just all of the stuff, what kind of support are you giving? Because quite often we get back what we're putting out. So if you're constantly getting a reflection back, it is sometimes really important to take a little deep dive and notice where you're going and how you're seeking support. Are you constantly looking for a trash can?
Yeah.
And when one's full, you just go for another one.
Right. Yeah, I love that analogy. It was a friend that told me that years ago, and it was something that she would often start conversations with her partner and her other friends with is like, hey, what do you need here? What are you expecting me to offer you? Because if you're expecting just to use a trash can and all you want to do about the situation is vent, but I'm over here thinking you need a toolbox and I'm trying to help you fix it, then we're not going to be aligned. You're not going to feel supported, and I'm going to be frustrated because at that point, everything I say is not going to sit well with you. And the reverse is true. If I think all you want to do is vent and I sit there and just listen and you're like waiting for something else, then it's not going to be a match either. But I think the big thing in there to dig into is that what happens in our childhood and in our early lives and things is not necessarily our fault, but it is our responsibility to work on. I won't even say fix because you're not really broken, but there are always things that you can do to improve. No one will ever have all the keys to human relationships. Everything is a learning experience. And it's our job as an individual to support ourselves in learning to work with the experiences we've had. And that's not anybody else's responsibility. Yeah, your parents might have messed up somehow. Things might have happened that were really crappy in your childhood or your young adult life. Things might have been really, really bad. But it's still your job to figure out how to best support yourself to keep moving forward. And it sucks. Having to parent yourself sucks. Like, I feel like I wasn't as prepared for that as I could have been or would have liked to have been. But guess what? It's still my job to pick myself up and figure it out. That's not your spouse's job. That's not your parents' job. That's not your kid's job. It's your job. It's your job to sort that out. And I think that's where talking about getting the right kind of support is important. There are professionals in just about everything you could ever imagine that have trained long and hard around whatever their chosen focus is, their craft, their experience, to be able to help people. Like counselors and therapists and psychologists and doctors and nutritionists and fitness coaches and sports people, and go find someone that can help you. There's even people you can follow on the internet that are virtually free, giving away information that you can work with. And having that support can sometimes mean the difference between success and failure. You don't need to reinvent the wheel at this point. There's a lot of other people that have already figured things out. So go find them and learn from them. Many of them you will need to pay, but that's fair for the amount of information that they can share. I give my riding trainer credit for keeping both myself and my horse alive, because more than likely, if she hadn't been there for us along the way for the past 18 years, I don't know what would have happened to one or both of us, but somehow somebody would have ended up in a bad way. And I'm super grateful for her support, and I continue to learn from her because she's such a valuable resource. And I have business coaches. I've had all kinds of coaches over the years. And it's super important that you go figure that out, because otherwise you're going to be uncomfortable. This is where that you're going to be uncomfortable either way thing comes in. So go get the support and be uncomfortable with support so you can learn and get relief and make life easier sooner for yourself.
Yeah, well, side note, happy birthday to Storm, by the way.
Yes, it's my pony's birthday today. He's 22.
As you were talking, what was coming up for me was that having people available for support and not looking for support in the wrong places. So the example that I have with my mountain bike coaching, and I struggle with this one because I have to check myself. What energy am I coming at this with? Because as a coach, you look at the world and you're like, oh, if only that person would seek support, they would be able to get there so much faster. And then you're like, is this just a selfish thing because I want them to pay me because this is what I do for a living? Or I do it for a living because I know how valuable this help and support is. I started mountain biking coaching purely because my mountain biking starting was an absolute mess. And I was banged up and I was bruised and I was frustrated and I almost gave up because I had a bike that was terrible. And it didn't matter how many times my husband said that bike sucks, that's your problem. I was like, no, I've got to figure this out, right? And when we go to the wrong places for support, we can get led down the wrong track. It's the blind leading the blind, right? Hanging out with fellow business owners is a great networking tool. And we can definitely support each other and give people advice based on the experience that we've had. But it might be that unless your person that you're talking to, a fellow retail store owner, when you're in retail, may or may not be able to actually give you the advice that you need to help you. What they're doing might not be working. But hey, have they been to a business coach? And did they get some really key pieces of advice that help them make key decisions that change the way that their business went? Well, that's worth listening to. Let's go back to mountain biking. Your friend goes on a mountain biking lesson, learns a bunch of key stuff, comes back and says, wow, you wouldn't believe what I learned this weekend. She taught me how to balance my bike. She taught me how to brake. Let me share that information with you. Now that's valuable information to listen to. But when you are just, I think this might work. I tried this and I kind of got through this tricky section. That might actually be giving you a whole lot of bad habits that are going to get you through that section. But then when you go to level up to the next level of the game, because the information wasn't complete, because you didn't get the whole story, or because you've just figured it out this little piece of it, you might actually be getting advice that's going to plateau you really quickly because it's not correct. And I see this a lot when people are learning how to ride rock rolls. And there's this one roll on a trail in my town where there's two ways to ride it. There's the go super fast, point and shoot, and hope for the best. And if you kind of slide sideways off, you generally will make it between the gap between the tree and the other tree. Or you could learn to just use your front brake, go super slowly, ride the spine all the way and go left onto the actual trail and ride off of it that way. No slipping, no sidling, no hoping to point and shoot. The difference between these two strategies is point and shoot. You will be able to ride that particular rock roll, no problem. You'll feel like a rock star. But then when you go to the trail that's a black diamond and you're on a black diamond rock roll, which basically means it's going to be a little bit trickier, a little bit more consequential, and probably a little bit longer, and you're going to need to have those fine-tuned abilities to slow down and ride in a nice cadence, going slowly, controlling your speed. Well, you're not going to have those skills because your rock rolling skills are point and shoot and hope for the best and take the cheetah line. So yeah, it'll work for that level, but you're never going to be able to level up because you've not actually learned the progression and the progression skills. And that drives me absolutely insane for no other reason than I'm like, I've been there, I've been you. And you have no idea how great it feels to dial it in just right. And if you're just learning from your friends and they don't know any different, then you're going to learn the wrong way and then you have to unlearn. So going and finding that difference between friends and support workers, finding the difference between a friend and a coach, and finding the difference between good advice and stopper-gap advice. It's going to work for now, but it might not be the tools you need to keep leveling up. Life's a game. I was on my Duolingo the other day and I'm like, can I totally skip to a new section? And so I took the test. I failed it miserably. And what that told me was that I was not ready because there was still so much progression that I needed to learn When I go to the next test and I'm like, I have no idea what left or right is in Spanish, but it does it in such a way that I'm like, well, there's a 50% chance that that's left and that's right. And I can guess. And because I can guess, I can get it right or wrong, which allows me to learn. But if I try and guess at the whole new level and I've got absolutely no base skills to go to that next level, I'm going to fail. So I have to go back and I have to keep doing the progression and trust that Mr. Duolingo, although I'm really sure he doesn't know what he's doing, actually has some science backed in there. And there's a reason why they keep teaching me the word for Portuguese in Spanish. That's not helpful. I need to talk to the guy who's delivering my water and now to pay him. Why haven't you taught me my numbers yet? But they're experts. I'm not.
Yeah. And I think this also is just natural that we want support and we need support. Humans are community animals and we need each other to function. That's normal. No one can be 100% independent. It just doesn't work that way. So it's totally normal to need the support and to want support around a lot of different things. That's the amazing thing about our world now, is that it's actually really super easy to get support. Duolingo didn't exist 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
These sorts of things didn't exist all that long ago. And now you can get support in anything you want to learn about or you want to get better at. So there really isn't any excuse for not doing it. But that first step is you have to support yourself first. You have to parent yourself first, and you have to teach yourself that you're trustworthy enough because you're going to get the right support to keep yourself safe and to take care of yourself. Everybody's level of risk is different, and that's fine. But you've got to be able to show yourself that you're there for you first. And when you do that, then so many other things open up. And I think it gives you more room to be available for the other people in your life in the ways that they need support.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also a good time to mention that it is actually really important to share our experiences with others, because there's a lot of other stuff going on. And we've talked about the stars, the moons, the energies, all of the different things that affect us, and they affect others too. Last part of 2023 was a challenge for a lot of people. I had an experience of chatting to a girlfriend and she was like, yeah, I've had a really tough last couple of months. And I was like, so have I. And I felt actually really bad that I hadn't reached out to have coffee with them, not to dump on them, not to seek support, not to do anything, but to actually just share experiences. Because when we share experiences with people that are important in our lives, we often find that just in sharing the experience we're having, it gives the other person an opening to be like, oh, I've been going through that too. Man, okay, it's been a tough go. It's not just me. And it's not necessarily that you're actually trying to dump on the other person. You don't even need advice. It's just that communication of understanding that we're not alone. We're all having a human experience. I think that's a lot of what happened during COVID, is we became very isolated and very siloed. And so when we aren't talking to each other about what is going on emotionally for us, then we start to think that it's just us, and we start to think that we can't talk to anybody because telling someone our problems is dumping on them. But sharing an experience with somebody, telling a story in a way that's actually positive, and, oh, you know, I had a bit of a tough weekend. My partner and I weren't getting along that well. We were trying to do some renovations and we were getting a little antsy with each other. But it was great. We ended up sorting it out. We had an amazing dinner on Sunday night and we're feeling really good today. That's sharing an experience. And then the other person gets to share their experience. Oh, you know what? Me and my man, we had such a great weekend. We went camping. We didn't argue at all. I was absolutely astounded. It was an amazing weekend. That works really well when we're just sharing experiences and being very conscious and being clean with our energy. We can share a negative experience, but with clean energy. It's when we're sharing negative experiences with toxic energy that's dumping, right? So understanding even the nuances between seeking support and just sharing, and how that looks different. You see it in Facebook posts all the time. That person who is constantly posting stuff and you're like, what are you wanting from the audience here? This doesn't feel good. And then you've got other people that are like posting their negative experiences but in a positive way, and you're like, oh wow, thank you, I can learn from that. I know what that feels like. I can relate to your story. Thank you, that's helpful. That has tools that I can use.
Yeah. And this is where being able to check in with yourself. What do I need in this moment? We had a gorgeous weekend. The weather was lovely here. And so we were outside getting a lot of work done. And at one point I was like, I think I have a headache. And I was like, all right, well, have I drank enough water? Have I eaten enough? Do I need to take a break? Is the sun too hot? You need to run down your list and check in to figure out what the first thing you can do to support yourself is, and then correct it. A lot of times it's pretty simple. It's like water and food. Like, have I drank enough water, and do I need to eat? Those are often the first two things to start with. And if you're not checking in with yourself every time you experience something that's challenging, then you're missing the opportunity to be able to support your own self first. That's the first tool to reach for is, okay, what tools do I need? And sometimes that's what's helpful about reaching out to a friend. I know you and I often do that for each other. It's like, oh, dang, I'm going through this thing. It's really super challenging right now. And then the other one of us will be like, okay, well, here's some tools. Have you tried these things? Oh, I forgot about that. A lot of times when we get into the thick of stuff, it's very easy to forget. It's very easy to forget to eat. It's very easy to forget to drink water. It is real easy to not do those basic things. And so having someone that you can share challenging times with and go, man, this is what I'm in the middle of. And then they can go, hey, yeah, are you reaching for all of your resources without judgment and without making you feel bad that you haven't? That is really valuable. But making sure you're not just dumping on that person and expecting them to fix your problems is not a fair relationship. We can't go through life without support. It doesn't work that way. That's how we get ourselves out of the weeds. That's how we help other people out of the weeds. That's how we do everything. And we always need support from somebody. And our whole world is set up as an infrastructure with all kinds of support everywhere. And we need all that. And we don't often think about some of the unseen support in our lives, but it's out there and it's how the world functions. So it's a basic necessity to lean on each other for lots of different things.
Yeah, go in first and then go out. Check your networks and ask for the appropriate support. You got an electrical problem? You have a friend who's really good with electrical? Great, start there. And then when your friend says, I don't know how to do this, you're going to have to call a professional, well then go find a professional. But don't be upset that your friend can't help you. And I think that that is in every situation. You know what? I'm always here for you, but I think it would really help you to talk to somebody who's a little bit more professional in this area. And I think whether you're talking about the plumbing, the electrical, doing our solar panels, like we've gotten to the point we've got them working, but there's a few things that aren't quite working right that we're going to have to find someone who knows a little bit more when we get home who can help us get the final pieces done and make sure that we've done it right. At that point, we need a professional. And so just understanding the different levels. And I think to wrap this up, I want to tell a bit of a story about the parenting yourself side of things. I was recently in a conference, let's call it that, and Tony Robbins was one of the speakers, and it was talking about worthiness. And he was talking about one of the base levels where we start this journey of feeling unworthy as humans is because when we're born, we're perfect. Most of the time, our parents are like, we get all of the graces. It's like having a puppy. Everything that happens wrong with that puppy is generally your fault. Puppy ate your shoes, shouldn't have let the shoes out. And you're not yelling at the puppy, well, you shouldn't be, because he ate the shoes, because he doesn't know the difference between his toy and his shoes. But then as you go along, you get to this point where, okay, now the human, the puppy, needs some training. And so as humans, we're told we're awesome, nothing, we can do no wrong. And then suddenly that human that used to tell you everything you did was perfect and you could do no wrong starts turning around and telling you you can do wrong and asking you to actually pick up after yourselves and not interrupt them when they're speaking. And at that point, we get confused. And we don't realize that that's where the balance shifts. And we go from being, it's okay, we don't know anything. We don't know any better. But now you know better. So there's more expectations of you. So now it's your turn to make sure that you are doing the things that need to be done in order to be in this world. It doesn't mean that you're any more or less worthy, but we get confused and we think instead of, oh, okay, it's my turn to make sure that I'm doing the things right so I get that praise and that love and that appreciation, we think, oh, I've done something wrong. I need to please other people. I need to prove that I'm worthy. I need to do something else in order to get this feedback. And that's where we get really confused. And then that's where we start to not know what to do. And as you just said so eloquently before, check yourself. What do you need? What might you be able to do to fix this situation? And that stops us from people pleasing, from seeking our validation from other people, whether it's the support of somebody telling you, no, you're not the bad person in the relationship, it's them, or whatever it might be, and actually being able to go inward and go, hey, okay, these are the things I can do. And then it also allows us to be able to not over support people and give them the opportunity to stand on their own feet and move forward.
Yeah. I think it's very appropriate to talk about that tool of thinking of yourself as a small child or as a puppy that needs care. Can you look at yourself from that point of view, that sort of detached point of view, so that you can give yourself the support you need? And sometimes it's easier to think of ourselves in third person, like, oh, does the little puppy need a nap kind of thing. To think of ourselves with that sort of third person perspective, to take some of the judgment out of it, because we often are super hard on ourselves when we aren't living up to some standard that we have set for ourselves, but really we just need a little care and attention. And so how can you support yourself? If you think of yourself as in the third person, sometimes it's a little easier to be objective for yourself and give yourself the support you need, which means you're not going to be reaching to the wrong person. You're not going to be reaching to things that are not helpful for you. And therefore, you're going to have more to give the world of yourself, which is always valuable.
That's a absolutely perfect place for us to end on. Thank you so much, Ginny. I am Natasha Lockey. I am a performance, mountain bike, and life coach. I am here for you if you are looking to get out of a space where your health is not doing great. You've got anxiety, your cortisol's running high, and you're just not really enjoying the things that should be enjoyable. You've put yourself into an amazing life, but you forgot to put your needs first. So reach out for support from me if I can help you with performing better in your life and having more fun and adventure. You can find me at Betty Go Hard on Instagram, Natasha Lockey on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn as Natasha Lockey also. What about you, Ginny? How do we find you?
I'm Ginny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. And I am here if you are struggling with your pet relationships, whether that's behavioral challenges, emotional challenges, or you just want to get to know your pet better, then I'm going to be able to support you. So you can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram under the same handle. So thank you so much for joining us here today on the podcast. We really appreciate your support, and we would love it if you could please like, comment, share, and subscribe. That is one of the simplest ways you can offer support to us so that we can keep going and doing this here with you and for you. You can find us on ridingintheweeds.com and on all the major podcast platforms. We love you all, and thank you so much for joining us today.
And just one more thing from me is my podcast coach actually told me to ask my listeners to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. So if you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, it would mean the world to us to leave us a review. If you're enjoying this podcast and you think of somebody who could do with the support and would enjoy these conversations, please share this podcast with them, because that's how we get our messages out to the world. And if it's benefiting you, we would love it if you would leave us a review. It's how people find us, and share it with somebody today. So thank you so much for your support, and have a great day.